BBC just announced one of the undercards that's gonna happen on the Lamont Roach versus Gervonta TANKDAVIS, the self-proclaimed face of boxing rematch. And we have a stacked card. It's gonna be none other than Charlo versus Keith one-time Thurman. Now, Charlo and Thurman are one of my favorite fighters at 154. Well, Keith Thurman has barely started fighting at 154, as Keith Thurman was really taking over the 147-pound division, but he has been gone for a while. And Keith Thurman was one of the best fighters around, but he did suffer some injuries, so that kept Thurman out of the ring for a while, and he actually suffered an injury against Tim Tszyu, and he had to pull out the fight not too long ago. And as we all know, everything in boxing is subject to change. Everything changes back to back. As of right now, yes, it's gonna be Keith Thurman versus Charlo, but who knows, that card could change in the future, as life does happen. People do get injuries, people get married, or their spouse has a kids. Stuff does happen, and sometimes they gotta pull out the fight. Now, Charlo and Thurman have been out of the ring for a very long time, and I believe this is the best way for them to make a comeback against each other. They're both pretty old, and they both have a lot of mileage. Don't get me wrong, both of these fighters are big names. They're both very talented fighters, but I wish it would have happened in their primes, but I'm down to watch it right now as well. Now, back in the day, I have Keith Thurman beating Charlo, but who knows who's gonna win this fight this time, because they both have been out of the ring for a very long time, especially Charlo. He has not been fighting since he took that defeat against Canelo Alvarez, and he did not win any round against Canelo Alvarez, and he actually got dropped in that fight. But Jermall Charlo losing to Canelo Alvarez does not explain everything, because Charlo fights at 154, and he had to move from 154 all the way to 168 to fight Canelo Alvarez. And Charlo is a known power puncher in the 154-pound division, and he could not move Canelo Alvarez. And Charlo is a G. Charlo is a beast. He always brings it to his opponent, but he just kept running around with the ring against Canelo. And there ain't no shame in that. I know Charlo is a 154 pounder, and he just went to go get that money grab. I'm mad at that, because Charlo has already put in the work. He already is undisputed at 154. He got all the belts, and if he lost the belts, it's because he went to go fight Canelo and he lost the belts like that. But I do believe the 154-pound division is the most dangerous division in boxing. But the 147-pound division, I believe in the year or two, is going to be pretty dangerous as well. Now, if Charlo already fought at 154 and he could not move Canelo, what makes everybody think that a Terrence Crawford coming from 147 all the way to 168 is going to be able to do anything with Canelo? And this is not the only thing. Canelo had already fought at 175, and he was a champion at 175, and those guys couldn't knock out Canelo. What makes you think a welterweight at Terrence Crawford is going to knock out Canelo? And not just that, when Terrence Crawford moved from 147 to 154, he fought Madrimov, and he did not look that good against Madrimov. I saw it as a close competitive fight, and I seen Terrence Crawford edge the fight, but there is a lot of content creators that do not like Terrence Crawford, that say Terrence Crawford actually lost the Madrimov fight, but I really do not think so, because I am a Terrence Crawford fan, but I am not a boy fan of Terrence Crawford. I could care less if he loses or wins, and I could care less how much he gets paid. So yes, Crawford cannot knock out Madrimov, and that was only from 147 to 154. Now, if Crawford cannot knock out Madrimov from 154, what makes you think he's gonna knock out Canelo from 154 all the way to 168? That's 14 pounds more. And not just 168, Canelo can actually take the 175 pounds. And not just that, Canelo actually wanted to go to cruiserweight to fight McBook Air. But when Canelo wanted to go to cruiserweight, that's when Usyk had barely moved to cruiser to heavyweight. So Usyk said, Canelo just waited for me to go from cruiser to heavyweight to challenge the fighters out cruiserweight. So this is when Usyk told Canelo that he will challenge him and he will go back to cruiserweight to fight Canelo at cruiserweight. But Canelo tucked his tail. And Canelo never mentioned that again, because I really do believe Usyk will knock out Canelo even if Usyk is drained and he cannot make the cruiserweight division anymore. But I digress from my point. I believe the Keith Thurman versus Charlo fight is going to be a lot better than the Lamont Roach versus Gervonta Tank Davis, the self-proclaimed face of boxing rematch. Because I do love the PBC, but this is a message to the people that ride the PBC, not the PBC riders. I'm down with y'all, the ones that ride the PBC. Because we gotta be fair here. I know Canelo is getting a lot of criticism and also Devin Haney, so Tank Davis should get that criticism as well. As Canelo Alvarez and Devin Haney did not look good this past performances, and also Ryan Garcia, he got beat up by Rolando Romero, the GOAT, the greatest boxer of all time. And yes, Canelo did not look good this week, and he did not throw a lot of punches, so not even Devin Haney or Ryan Garcia either. And I know in boxing, you're only as good as your last performance. And because of Canelo's bad performance, I actually give Terence Crawford a chance to make it 12 rounds against Canelo. But if he does get cashed clean, he will get knocked out by Canelo. Crawford has to fight a perfect fight. Crawford cannot make one mistake because Canelo will capitalize on it. But Canelo can make as many mistakes as he wants because I believe Charlo hits harder than Crawford. But yes, Canelo, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, all fights were very boring. But guess what? Gervonta Tank Davis versus the Lamont Roach fight was extremely boring as well. As Lamont Roach exposed Tank Davis, he actually made him look human and went a draw against Tank Davis. And Tank Davis is known to miss weight and bring opponents from a lower weight class to fight him in his own weight class. And this is exactly what Tank Davis did to Lamont Roach. He made him move from 130 to 135. But this time it did not work on Lamont Roach. And Lamont Roach and Tank Davis already know each other from the amateurs. And Tank Davis already beat Lamont Roach twice, but it was a split decision. Now there's 3 judges. A split decision means that 2 judges thought Tank won and Lamont Roach got one of the judges on his side as well. So both fights were split decisions, so those were pretty close fights. And I also do understand that styles make fights. Some fighters just have your numbers, kind of like Rolly has Ryan Garcia's number. But that's all, folks. I ain't the biggest, I'm the baddest. And if you want to hop on your boy, throw a dollar at the super thanks. I got a roll. Peace.